Hey guys, welcome to Roleplay News. It's only going to be short because it's 2:25 in the morning. I'm really tired. I've kind of collated stuff that I think is going to be interesting, stuff that has happened over the last kind of week or so, so I'm going to be talking about that mostly. I'm not going to be focusing too much on the details. Links will be provided, of course, if you want to go check them out. I am going to give a little bit of what I think, but it's not going to be as long as some of these episodes are going to be because I'm really knackered, and I'm sorry about that. If you're wondering why I'm so knackered and why it's been such a long day, I'm going to do a very short video just explaining what has gone on in my day, which I will click somewhere in the screen. I'll give an annotation and you'll be able to click on that and listen to me talk about what happened today. Again, it'll only be short, but it'll just be what's gone on to news. Don't know what the jazz hands were for. For those who are interested in Paizo and the RPG Pathfinder, the Advanced Race Guide is coming out. This is available for pre-order in hardcover for $39.99, and the PDF will be $9.99, and that will be out in PDF form on June 20th. This book, the Advanced Race Guide, will allow you to play as one of 30 exotic and iconic races from mythology, all codified in one book. It's also apparently going to include rules on how to create your own alternate racial traits, other options for maximum customization, and it's a balanced rule system for creating your own race, mixing and matching powers and abilities. So really, it's going to add a lot of value to the game. You can play in any style and pretty much who and what you want. I think this is a really nice addition, actually. So it's not limiting your type. It's allowing you to create really homespun characters. I think that's good fun. For someone who role plays a lot, sometimes you get a bit tired of the same archetypes. So it'd be great to mix it up a bit. I think this is a really positive thing, and I'm going to look forward to getting this and having a look through this. Also in July 2012 for $9.99, the player folio is coming out. Obviously a nice way to keep and organise your characters other than just standard printed out sheets. There's a lot of space on these. You can do a lot. You can customize kind of how you store that information. So, I mean, player folios are pretty self-explanatory, but it's always good to actually have one coming out. And in August 2012, there is also going to be the Ultimate Equipment Guide. This one is more expensive than all the others. It's $44.99. Again, that is in dollars. I haven't really looked actually what's in Ultimate Equipment, but I'm going to guess by the title, Ultimate Equipment. I think what it is doing is it's bringing together all the equipment from all the rule books that have come out so far and putting them in one place and adding more in. So it's going to be really good value if you kind of want to have one handy reference, but also a lot more stuff to choose from. This might be better for more advanced adventurers or ones who have done the game a couple of times, but generally a good product for everyone, I think. Wizards on the Coast, D&D, on the 21st of the 8th, so that's going to be August 2012. It is the source book for the Drow city Menzoberranzan. Just describing that city, describing it in full detail. I'm sure it'll give you so much information that you can set campaigns there, things that are happening. Great background book. I think something that if you're interested in looking into that city and working as a GM, that'll be aces, so you want to be going for that. I didn't see the price. I'm sure it's lurking around somewhere. I'll just see if I can find it out for you now. It's $29.95. Again, that is in dollars, and it's out August the 21st, as I said. So that's something you want to go for. Absolutely go for it. And there's also the first edition premiums that are coming out on the 17th of July. These are really nice collector's editions of the first edition rules for Dungeons & Dragons. Links will be provided. If it's something that you're into, please feel free to have a look and leave some comments about what you think about these things, about bringing reissues in collector's form of the first edition rules. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think, really, seeing as they're not a current edition, whether many people will go for it for nostalgia's sake, or is that something that you wouldn't really be interested in? As an addendum to that conversation, Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, at least for me, brings out too many rule books and supplements and additional things that I feel like if I wanted to make the character that I would want to make, there is far too many things that I have to pull from in all sorts of different places. If I wanted to run a campaign, I'd feel like all of my characters, when I'm trying to DM, all my players would be there going, oh, well, no, because this rule or this racial ability pulling from this book. I feel like I have to have a whole bookshelf full of all these books and put a lot of serious cash outlay into buying these. And is that something that you find a negative that D&D do? I mean, I know that 3.5 had several source books, and the Pathfinder by Paizo do the same thing. They put out other source books, but no one seems to churn them out in the same volume as Wizards on the Coast and D&D 4th edition. I mean, what's the player kind of core rulebook up to now? Is there 1, 2, and 3? I mean, is that something that maybe I'm just being a bit weird about? Lastly, Fantasy Flight Games have announced Only War. Now, originally this was meant to be a supplement for Dark Heresy, but it's actually been released as a game within its own right, which means in the Warhammer 40,000 roleplay game group now, we have Dark Heresy, we have Rogue Trader, we have Deathwatch, we have Black Crusade, and we have Only War 5. Is that too many? Leave comments. Tell me, is that too many for the setting, especially when we thought this would be a supplement? For my 2 cents, 2 pennies, please delete whichever one is not relevant to your country of origin. I think it looks really interesting. I'm really interested in how they're going to portray a war setting where you're not playing as Space Marines. I'm interested to see how the political entities within the Imperial Guard actually affects your campaign, because obviously you're a guardsman. You're not at the whim of an Inquisitor, but you're certainly not a freelance agent like Rogue Trader, and you don't have the ability to soak damage like an Astartes. So I think that's going to bring a whole new dynamic of playing that's going to be really interesting to see how we can cope with that and where the back-scene political machinations take you, especially with some of the character classes you can play. Specifically, I'm talking about the Commissar here. I'm really excited about this. I think Commissars are a brilliant kind of character concept and a brilliant bit of the background fluff that I think they're really compelling, and it'd be great to play one of those. But at the same time, how constrained are you? Obviously, they're a political machine, but the ability to field execute anyone, they're going to have to control that some way, because you do not want to be, executing someone on your team just because they failed a willpower test and they ran away from this big scary demon in front of them. Because as a preview, I think that would look something like this. I failed my willpower test. What does that mean, GM? Well, player, that means that you're terrified by the demon and you turn and you flee and you run past the rest of your group. Running past the rest of the group, eh? So, yeah. Basically, I think at the end of that sequence, anyone who fails willpower tests, if you have a really strict commissar that isn't reined in any way, you're going to end up with a lot of dead squad mates, a lot of people re-rolling characters, and potentially by the end of it, a player who's hated and a commissar who ends up being killed by an unfortunate friendly fire incident, which doesn't work for anyone's character. So I think they're going to have a stipulation where you have to play lenient commissars, or there's got to be some other way, some defining characteristic that means you don't just get to go trigger happy as soon as anyone balks at, say, running into heavy bolter fire. It's just not practical. But I still think it's going to be great to play, and I'll be playing one unless I'm running the game. Then I'll be hoping someone plays one to see how it works. But these aren't the only roles. There are 12 distinct roles, which actually looks like they've brought back in career paths. I'm not sure how that's going to work with ranks and talents. And with skills, it kind of makes sense actually bringing back kind of ranks and a career path in this. They probably want to make it a bit more freeform, in my opinion. Like a sergeant may be particularly good with mechanics, he might be that way inclined. Doesn't mean that he's a tech priest, but at the same time, you're not going to have that crossover area. You know, there's got to be some specialisms. But they've announced that you can play as a commissar, as we've mentioned, a medic, so you get to charge into a combat situation and try and stop your friends from dying, whilst you try and not die. That would be an interesting one. I wonder how many people would be so selfless in these games to play that role. I think it'd be interesting. I'm imagining kind of like a Wade character from Saving Private Ryan, with everyone else just pinning him down, being like, "Don't go out there, man." There's also a Sanctioned Psyker. Always a Sanctioned Psyker. Has to be a Sanctioned Psyker, so that people who like the mind bullets can kill things from afar. Heavy Gunner, big, brawny. They're probably going to be real strong. And that should be a fun one to play. I don't know how they're going to have you moving around the heavy weapon. I'd be interested to see if you have to do that in two-man teams to reflect the fact you're not an Astartes. You also get to be a priest. If you want, you can be a priest. A stormtrooper has been mentioned, tech priest engineer, and the sergeant. You can be essentially in a command role. Obviously, that's only 8 roles that they've kind of leaked / revealed. There is a lot of speculation about what the other roles are. I imagine there'll be some sort of officer track, unless the sergeant, when he advances, goes up the officer track. That would be quite interesting to see. But other than that, it is pretty much a blank slate on what this is going to contain. And I'll be really eagerly, and pretty much most days I click refresh and see updates on this, because I'm really interested in what they're going to sneak out, what they're going to show us, and what it means, and how well this will integrate within the other game systems. I think it's going to be really great if you do a campaign or first part of the campaign as the Imperial Guard. The Imperial go in and they find out what's wrong. And you guys are in there, you're in the fighting, and you find out that you can't beat it. So obviously you get as far as you can, and then you send a radio message off, and then the Death Watch get involved, and then you come in playing the Death Watch Marines, or playing the Grey Knights that come in to deal with the demon incursion, and then interact with your own characters from another perspective. I think actually having those systems cascading through each other, especially in a war setting, could be really interesting, and that's something I'd quite like to try out if the rules work that way and if they support each other. So that has been this episode of Roleplay News. Hopefully that's kind of kept you abreast of just what's going on. I know it's only been limited systems, and it's only been a limited amount of time, and I do apologise about that. Obviously next time it will be a bit more substantial, but I really would quite like to sleep at some point. So I will bid you a fond farewell, and I will see you next time. Start that again.